92% of Canadian businesses today use digital technologies in order to conduct business. However, a lot of them use kind of fail-safe ways of protecting themselves. So most people do have different forms of cybersecurity, but they're usually only focused on the preventative measures, which means that when an incident actually does happen, they're not prepared to deal with it. So this results in big productivity hits, and productivity loss is actually the #1 impact of cybersecurity incidents. So for example, 58% of these companies end up experiencing downtimes. So that's when machines or services aren't working either for the employees or for the users. And this averages at 23 hours per company. Also, 54% of employees were prevented from doing day-to-day work. 53% were prevented from using resources or services, and 32% required additional time from employees in order to deal with the incidents. So what we need to do is go from this fail-safe, preventative-focused measures to more of a safe-to-fail model, which Traian can speak to.
Bjork and his colleagues define cyber resilience as the ability to continuously deliver the intended outcome despite adverse cyber events. They also came up with the terms fail-safe and safe-to-fail. Considering that productivity loss is the #1 impact of these so-called adverse cyber events, enterprises should adopt cyber resilient best practices. Just like traditional cybersecurity, cyber resilience commands prevention, so firms have to be fail-safe. But it also acknowledges the fact that the need to bounce back from incidents when they happen. So firms also have to be safe to fail. Its recognition of the intersection between IT and business implies that policies must be rooted in the firm's mandate and that everyone has a responsibility in upholding them. Yet, statistics Canada data show that there's a blatant disregard for cyber resilience today. For instance, only 8% have an incident reporting policy in place. Only 10% have a continuity plan in the event of a cybersecurity incident. Only 16% hold activities to identify cybersecurity risks and threats. And finally, only 19% think that everyone should be responsible for cybersecurity to a certain degree. And the statistics are even worse for small businesses, which is worrying considering that they employ 90% of the labor force in Canada. So, how can an enterprise become resilient? Well, it has to follow 4 criteria according to Honagel's resilience analysis grid. First of all, enterprises have to anticipate potential constraints and disruptions that accompany the technological landscape. So this means, for example, holding workshops to identify cybersecurity risks and threats. And then for each and every condition, there should be at least some sort of safeguards pre-planned, afforded only, of course, by today's technological opportunities. Then, enterprises have to monitor the main cyber risks facing the enterprise, because he who defends everything defends nothing. Meaning that it's just productivity-wise and economic-wise, it's not feasible to just like invest in literally every single safeguard that you pre-planned. So leaders have to oversee these main risks and threats and then communicate to the higher ups in a language that they understand, of course, their findings, so that the so-called higher ups, so the executives, board of directors, etc., can then allocate the proper funds into cost-effective measures. These measures account both for prevention and continuity. And enterprises have to respond to incidents when they happen. So this means executing the continuity plan in place that was prepared during the anticipation phase and during the monitoring phase. Finally, an enterprise has to learn from the experience, meaning that it has to ask questions like, what went wrong? What was the vulnerability? How do you fix it? What about the continuity plan? What worked? What didn't work? These are all questions, again, to ask in a workshop involving preferably every member of the staff. So in short, cyber resilience requires a lot of agility on the part of an enterprise, which is actually a good thing because it allows them really to focus on the stuff that matters to them, thus ultimately saving them time and money. And it's only by acting proactively with their security that they can thrive in today's tough cyberspace.